For 20 years, Marvel let you cheer for a hero who might not have existed. The man behind the mask of Tony Stark, the genius, the billionaire, the guy who saved the universe, may have been playing a role written for someone else entirely. And here's the part that should stop you. The actor who plays him tried out for that other role first. Before we go further, quick reminder to hit subscribe, because the next few minutes are going to rearrange everything you thought you knew about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's start with something most casual fans never noticed. In Avengers Endgame, Tony Stark travels back in time and meets his father, Howard Stark, before Tony was born. Howard mentions, almost in passing, that his wife is pregnant. Tony's reaction is strange. He does the math in his head, and the numbers don't add up. According to his own timeline, he should already have been born. He wasn't. That single throwaway moment sits next to another one, from Iron Man 2, released 9 years earlier. In it, an old recording of Howard Stark tells Tony, "My greatest creation is you." At the time, it plays as a father's pride, but rewatch it with everything else in mind, and creation starts to sound less like a compliment and more like a confession. Here's where the theory gets its name and its most talked about piece of evidence. In 2005, 20 years before Robert Downey Jr. ever put on the Iron Man suit, he auditioned for a different Marvel villain, Victor Von Doom, in that year's Fantastic Four. Kevin Feige, who was an executive producer on that film, and director Jon Favreau confirmed the audition themselves in a 2024 retrospective interview released around Iron Man's 15th anniversary. Downey didn't get the part. It went to Julian McMahon instead. Downey went on to become Tony Stark in 2008. Now here's the reframe this theory builds on, and to be clear, this next part is not something Marvel has confirmed. It's speculation, but it's speculation built out of real documented pieces. The theory holds that Robert Downey Jr. wasn't finally cast as Doom in 2026's Avengers, Doomsday out of desperation to fill Jonathan Majors' shoes after his removal from the MCU. Instead, the theory claims Feige had been circling this exact idea, Downey as Doom, for 2 decades, ever since that 2005 audition. Setting that idea aside for a moment, we know something else is true. The Russo brothers have publicly said they weren't planning to return to the MCU at all. In their own words, they didn't have a story no way into Secret Wars that felt big enough to justify coming back. Then, according to Joe Russo, their longtime writing collaborator Stephen McFeely pitched an idea, and everything changed. That pitch is what's rumored to have triggered the casting of Downey, the build-up around Doomsday, and the reported $100 million deal that followed. This is where the theory takes its biggest swing, and again, treat this as speculation, not confirmed plots. It proposes that Victor Von Doom isn't simply an evil variant of Tony Stark from some parallel universe. It flips that completely. It suggests the man we've called Tony Stark for 2 decades was never Tony Stark to begin with. He was Victor Von Doom the entire time. To make sense of that claim, the theory leans on a piece of MCU lore that's already canon. He Who Remains, the variant of Kang the Conqueror introduced in Loki. In the show, he explains that he ended a catastrophic multiversal war by using the power of Alioth to erase every competing timeline except one, the Sacred Timeline, designated Earth 616. The theory extends that idea and speculates that Doom's original timeline was among the ones silenced in that pruning. In this version of events, Doom, defeated once before by He Who Remains in a war he ultimately lost, didn't disappear. He Who Remains supposedly arranged for the infant Doom to be adopted by Howard Stark and his wife, raised not as a villain but as a hero, specifically so he could never again grow into the threat he once was. That's the theory's explanation for why Doom, unlike Thanos, never got an on-screen introduction, a cameo, or so much as a name drop before his casting was revealed. Thanos had years of post-credits teases. Doom, under this theory, had something arguably bigger. 20 years of screen time, disguised as someone else, hiding in plain sight as one of the most beloved characters in the franchise. The theory doesn't stop there. It reaches even further back to explain why the MCU began with Iron Man in the first place, instead of more popular characters like Spider-Man or the X-Men. That part isn't speculation, it's documented Marvel history. In the 1990s, a financially struggling Marvel sold off the film rights to its biggest characters to survive. Spider-Man went to Sony. The X-Men went to 20th Century Fox. By the time Marvel Studios launched its own shared universe in 2008, it didn't have the rights or the money to include them, so it built around what it still owned: Iron Man, Captain America, and the rest of the original Avengers roster. Kevin Feige has spoken for years about wanting a universe where every Marvel character, from mutants to Spider-Man, could eventually exist together. It just wasn't possible yet. The theory takes that real gap in the story and folds it back into itself, suggesting the original unified Marvel universe, the one with mutants and Spider-Man, and everyone else already coexisting, always existed in some form, until He Who Remains silenced it while creating the sacred timeline we've been watching since 2008. Under that read, the version of Earth 616 audiences know isn't the true version at all. Just the one that survived the pruning, edited down to a smaller, cleaner story. If any of this plays out in Avengers, Doomsday, or Secret Wars, it raises an obvious question. If the Tony Stark audiences have followed since 2008 was never really Tony Stark, then where is the real one? The theory's answer, and this is the most speculative leap of all, is that a variant of the actual Tony Stark could exist in another universe, and some fans have floated Tom Cruise, once rumored decades ago for the role that eventually went to Downey, as a symbolic pick for that alternate version. There's no official casting, confirmation, or hint from Marvel supporting this. It's pure fan speculation stacked on fan speculation. Be honest, does any of this track for you, or does it feel like a stretch too far? One more piece the theory points to. Tony Stark invented time travel in a single night in Endgame, despite spending years developing and upgrading each version of the Iron Man suit. In the comics, time manipulation has long been one of Doctor Doom's signature areas of mastery. The theory suggests that if Tony was subconsciously doomed the entire time, an instinctive fluency with time travel, something none of his prior inventions hinted at, would make a strange kind of sense. And there's a smaller detail some fans point to as a wink from Downey himself. When he was unveiled as Doom at Comic-Con, he used the phrase, "new mask, same task." Read one way, it's simply a clever tagline. Read through the lens of this theory, it becomes something closer to a confession, hiding what the theory claims has been true the whole time the mask changes, but the person underneath doesn't. To be absolutely clear before we wrap up, none of this, the secret identity, the He Who Remains cover-up, the swapped timelines has been confirmed by Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, the Russo brothers, or Robert Downey Jr. What is confirmed is the 2005 audition, the studio's long-running interest in Downey for the role, and the Russos' account of finally finding a story worth returning for. Everything else is a theory, a clever one, built by connecting real dots into a picture nobody has verified. Whether Doomsday and Secret Wars actually go this direction is something only the movies themselves can answer. Which side are you on? Does Marvel go this dark with Tony Stark's legacy, or is this theory too big to be true? Drop your take in the comments, because I want to see where this fan base actually stands. If you want to catch every new piece of Doomsday and Secret Wars news as it breaks, subscribe for daily MCU videos. That's the only way you won't miss the next update. That's the theory. Confirmed or not, it's changed how a lot of fans are rewatching these movies. If you want more MCU breakdowns like this one, subscribe for daily MCU videos, and I'll see you in the next one.